One of these nice summer days. I hope you got your lawns cut and your fruit trees sprayed and all the rest of that nonsense. But we're excited to have Colonel Cook here. He tells me he's been up all night and he's, well, he feels good. Just turn the time order. We just use the mic here.
Okay.
We do have a lot of hearing aids in this group.
Right. I need one myself after all these flying. All right, thank you. As I was talking a little earlier to a few folks, I am from South Carolina, proud of it. 50 years old, about to retire. And can y'all hear me? Yeah. Okay. Went to Clemson University, mechanical engineer. Clemson University in South Carolina. 76. Worked for Dow Chemical for a couple years as an engineer. And then got in the Air Force. They started hiring pilots. A-10s, A-7s, stealth fighter, and the F-16. Desert Storm, 39 missions. Been back 5 times. Over 2 years of my life is in a tent in Saudi Arabia somewhere. You add it all up. So, I like to do these very informal. So, just interrupt me anytime with a question. I don't really know what you want to hear. Okay. I started out as a child. I've always loved flying. My dad was a Navy pilot. He's the one that talked me into going into the Air Force. Corsairs a little bit in World War II, a few other planes. But he basically said, son, you just got married. Don't go in the Navy, okay? He said, they'll push you and that airplane off that boat in a heartbeat to save that boat, okay? They go in the Air Force. They have all the best toys, the best equipment, the best houses. I wouldn't say that about every Air Force base, but anyway, the opportunity came up in '79, but the Air Force started hiring pilots again. They had too many from the Vietnam days, remember that period in the 70s? And they started calling some of us who were applying every 6 months because we wanted to fly. I actually started flying when I was a little bit younger, Cessnas and Pipers and that kind of stuff, but certainly nothing fancy like jets. So. And one day I just got a phone call out of the blue. Can you make a officer training class? And I said, okay, sure. I'd only been married for about 4 weeks. Left 4 weeks later for San Antonio for 4 months. And then she rejoined me again in Indian, Oklahoma for pilot training. And amazingly, she's still with me. However, she did leave last summer back for South Carolina. She goes, you stay in the Air Force if you want, but I'm going home with the girls. So I've been out here for about 8 months by myself. And I said earlier I'll be retiring here. 2 more months I'll be terminal leave. I have 3 more flights in the F-16. 3 more flights in the F-16. Welcome, sir. It'll be over. So we were just talking up here. I've never really had anything bad happen to me. Other than being shot at a bunch, but nothing really bad happened to me. And I'm like, look at these last 3 flights, and I'm going, oh, you know, that F-16's only got 1 engine. And anyway, I'm kind of thinking about these last 3 flights a bit. So, and I'm also I'm going to miss it. What I'm going to miss is the people. The jets are great. Hope you get hired by FedEx or UPS here, so it might be. Well, where are those bomber guys? So anyway, where do you want me to start? I started out flying the A-10 in 1980. Wonderful airplane. I got about 1,100 hours in it. I went to the Top Gun school in Nellis in '83. 2 assignments there. 2 years in Louisiana, England Air Force Base. Yep, Alex. And 2 years in Suwon, Korea. A lot of fun to fly because people always ask me which one do you love the best? And I said, well, I love them all. They're all great. The A-10 was my first. Okay. I mean, obviously I flew jets and pilot training, T-37s, T-38s, but what I loved about the A-10 is you really had to fly it. There's no autopilot. There's nothing fancy about it. It's just a big old hunk of an airplane. Not a lot of power to it. It could get away from you in a heartbeat. But you had to physically fly it. It was a real stick and rudder airplane. Not very glamorous in my business to be flying an A-10, you know. But I remember the A-10 guys are kind of tough. And gals now too, as you know, we have female pilots, but they know their airplane is not very pretty, but they know their airplane is very tough. And the reason that airplane is still around here to this day is because it's been so successful. It was on the chopping block just prior to Desert Storm. After Desert Storm, the Air Force made a decision, we've got to keep this airplane. Okay, unbeknownst to me, from 80 to 85, when I was flying the A-10, there was this classified program going up in the range of Nevada. Obviously, I wasn't briefed or read in, but there were people up there flying this stealth fighter, the F-117. They were all majors and above, because it was still in a test phase. In June of 1985, I got a phone call in Korea and said, would you like to work for me again? General Moorhead now. I said, yes, sir. He says, you know, I can't tell you anything about it. But in order to make that next leap to where it's going to be like a real active duty wing, they decided we better get some captains in here and figure out if they can do it. And I had just pinned on captain. They picked a A-10 guy, an F-16 guy, a F-15 guy, and a 111. I was that one A-10 guy. So only 5 years out of pilot training, and now I'm in a hangar looking at this. Yikes. What is this? That thing can't fly. It can't fly. I'm telling you right now, it will not fly. Oh yeah, it's got computers and stuff. So off to the secret world for a while. Lived in Vegas. My wife had no idea where I was. I would just come home now and then. And then I would leave again. A lot of the spouses had a little problem with that, but she never did. I guess she enjoyed me being gone. Did that for 4 years. Didn't get a lot of flight time in it yet, only about 200 hours. Because we didn't have very many of them back then, and they took a lot of maintenance. Until we kind of got a lot of the bugs worked out. But I did get to fly the A7 while I was there, because we weren't getting enough hours in the 117. We had enough A7s that we could just basically go fly around, do whatever we wanted. Great airplane. One of the best airplanes I've ever flown at low altitude. It's not supersonic, but it'll get up there pretty good. But then I really probably got into my real love. There's one I'm sitting out there in the museum for, and that's the F-16. Let's see. About 1,500 hours. My last week flights, I just mentioned it, coming up. Mixed emotions about that. I'll probably go out and do one BFM mission, and then I'll probably go drop some bombs. And then my Finney flight, I'm trying to make up my mind. Do I want to go back and do BFM, or do I want to go back to the range and drop bombs? I'll probably go back to the range and drop bombs. I don't know. I've always loved it. It's especially, unless, let's see, how can I say this? We have these bombing ranges where we don't really do anything that tactical. We just roll in and practice dropping bombs, roll in and just, shoot the gun. So it's kind of a sport. It's 50 cents a bomb, $1 for straight. And so we don't officially bet in the Air Force, but it's a friendly thing we do. And so you come back at the end of the day and you got bomb scores for 4 guys, or gals, and you got the straight scores over here. And it's like +1, -1, -1, -1. You just go through the matrix here. And at the end of the day, they all owe me about $6. I don't win all the time.
It's not gambling, that's business.
That's business. That's the business end of the deal right there. I'll tell you right now, the F-16 is the Ferrari of fighters. Okay? Nothing can out-turn it, really. That it'll just get up and scat and scoot the heartbeat. It's a lot of fun to fly. It looks good, doesn't it? I mean, you look at it and you go, wow, I want to get in that thing. Well, speaking of getting into it, we don't really get in it, okay? It's a concept that, I used to get into the A-10. I would get into the 117 or get into the A-7. In the F-16, you strap it on your back. And the reason, it's the most unusual feeling in the world because you're sitting so far out on that needle nose, the whole airplane's behind you. In the 117, you got that big old crowny canopy, you can't see anything hardly. The A-7 was like, whoa, big old metal rail. A-10, you can see pretty good in the A-10, but you're back a little bit. And but the F-16, you feel like you really are on the end of a pencil. Does that make sense? And that pencil's just pushing you around. The other thing I really like about it, the side stick controller, you really don't, you just almost gotta, I just want to go over there. And it just doesn't. Okay? Automatic rudder, don't have to mess with any of that. Unless you're cheating a little bit. Want to get that nose coming down a little faster. So anyway, 26 years. One tour at the War College and one tour at NORAD. And I was in Cheyenne Mountain on 9/11. I was a battle staff director that morning. Not one of the funnest days I had in Cheyenne Mountain, but other than that, I've been in the jet the whole time. So, what next? There it is.
Did you go into the first 6 seats, did it have a little bit more movement in?
Okay. The question is, in the early F-16s, did the stick have more movement? Actually, it's just the opposite.
Yes,
And when it first came out, it had no movement. In fact, we had one guy, and there was no feel at all, hardly. One guy wound up with it in his hand one day. They forgot to tighten the screws up. And good thing he immediately flipped it onto autopilot. Okay, pull the throttle back a little bit. Called his wingman and says, "Hey, I got this in my hand. What are you going to do with it?" Well, put it back in there. So he did. He just kind of wiggled it back down in there. And then don't pull up on it anymore. Just kind of keep a little down pressure on it. So quickly they realized, uh-oh, these pilots are like monkeys. They better do something, give it a little bit of feel so that, but it doesn't move much, about an eighth of an inch. I don't know what the actual number is. Quarter inch? Quarter inch, okay. It's just a wonderful, wonderful airplane to fly. And it's been, I'm going to miss it. But I'm going to miss them all. I mean, every one of them had a characteristic that made them unique. That'll make me never forget them. Okay? The stealth fighter was really neat. Okay? What was neat about it was the fact that it was what it was. It wasn't very neat to fly. Unless you like flying around at night on an autopilot. All you got to do is basically wake up when the bomb doors open, the guide the bomb, and you can let the doors go back to sleep, and it'll take you all the way back home. Go ahead.
Sorry, sir. What is your bandit number?
206. 206. The bandit, for those that don't know, in the F-117 community, the first person who ever flew it with one of these patches on, some test pilots had flown it before, but the first person who flew it, I believe, was a guy named Al Whitley. Another Clemson graduate, by the way. Lieutenant Colonel Al Whitley, his bandit number was 150. Why they started at 150, I don't know. So I'm 206, so I was the 56th person to fly the plane. Okay? The bandit numbers today are up in the 800s. They're up into the bandit 850, 860. I don't know where it is. I haven't talked to anybody down in Holloman lately. But, so, I flew it in 85, and I left just as it was becoming a little bit unclassified. Remember that time, November of 88, I believe, is when it went gray. How about that? Yeah, in fact, I was in that first picture. The first picture that you saw, I don't know for a fact that I was in it. Let me explain. I had moved over to the follow-on test and evaluation unit, and in preparation for this release, they told us, go get some pictures. And we want you to make it where you can't tell really what size it is. So and it's done a little tough in Nevada till we could find some clouds. We need to find some clouds. So my squadron commander, Lieutenant Colonel Rick Gresh, would take off in the 117, and I would chase him all over the place in an A7 with a photographer in the back. And we would land, get some more gas, go have some lunch, then I would get into the 117, he would get into the A7 with the photographer, and we'd go up and go looking for clouds again. And we did this for a week, twice a day, until we never saw the photos ourselves. Photographer went away with them. We had no idea which one would ever be used. All we knew was it was either going to be, if something's going to be good enough or it's going to be a redo. So, in any case, in November of '88, that picture came out. So, I have a 50-50 chance that I'm the guy that's in the picture. Anyway, so let's see. Desert Storm. Okay. You know, we practice, train, practice, train. I'm going to try to give you something that was a very difficult concept for my mother to grasp. Why do you want to go so bad? And I go, well, Mom, I'm not interested in killing anybody, but if there's going to be a war here, we want to be in it. Our squadron wants to be in it. And some of you guys that have flown in combat know what I mean. Nobody relishes it, nobody wants it, everybody's praying against it. But if it's going to happen, I don't want my sister's squadron going. You know? So anyway, luck of the draw, we got to go. Actually, I flew out of Moody, Air Force Base, Georgia, the 69th Fighter Squadron. We went to Augment Hill, down in UAE, the 4th Fighter Squadron, and the 421, the Black Widows, were down in the United Arab Emirates. So we flew in to augment them. They wanted 3 squadrons there instead of just 2. Anybody remember there in late November, before the war, President Bush put an extra 100,000 troops into the mix? I guess there's, I don't know this for a fact, I've never really heard it, but I've heard rumors about it. I guess there's some kind of informal arrangement with the Army. X amount of troops equals more fighter squadrons, or more bomber squadrons, okay? Nobody's ever told me what that exact number is, but about 5 more squadrons went from November to December, and some were still even arriving in early January, just prior to the war. But we were one of those squadrons. United Arab Emirates, Al Manhad Air Base. Okay, Saudi Arabia. Let's see here. My drawing's terrible. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Iraq, little tiny island here called Bahrain, a bigger island right here called Qatar, and then it kind of arcs around this way. And then there's Oman on the tip of the Arabian Gulf. A little country right here called the United Arab Emirates. The United Arab Emirates, okay? Al Manhad. We didn't stay there very long. We wound up moving up here to an airfield in Saudi Arabia called King Fahd, as we become the night Scud hunters. Remember the Scud missiles were a big deal, and it really wasn't very easy to find them. There wasn't a lot of intelligence on where they were, and my squadron wound up moving to get a little closer so we could go out here by Syria and over here by Iran and basically just orbit, okay, and wait till you saw one launch. Then roll in and get a mark, a computer mark on that spot, and then try to go bomb this. At least go bomb the site. We got a little better later in the war, especially out west here in Syria, when some of our folks were able to get on the ground and get in there and find them, and then talk to us and tell us where they were. So, gosh, I hope that's declassified.
We won't tell anybody.
All right, nobody say a word. Everybody's going to sign the sheet before you get out of here.
Were you in that?
Lantern Squadron, yes. Which is really funny. Okay, I'm in the worst squadron at Moody. I'm in the absolute worst squadron at Moody, just by luck of the draw. The 69 Fighter Squadron, we're the Charlie Squadron. The other 2 squadrons, the 68 and the 70th, were the Alpha Bravo nuke squadrons. They were committed to go to Europe. If there was ever, back in the Cold War, still, you know, they were the 2 squadrons. So they did the nuclear stuff. We didn't do it. We were just, you know, we were nobody. We were actually just a plain old line bombing F-16 squadron. Well, when it came time to convert from the A model to the Block 40, which is the lantern jets, the night infrared jets, you can fly around at night and see where you're going. not very well, but you can see a little bit. And so we converted first because we were expendable. And we finished that conversion in the summer of 1990. Our other two squadrons were just starting their conversion, and so when they needed another Block 40 lantern squadron, night lantern squadron, to augment Hill's two lantern squadrons, we were the only one out there. It's just pure luck of the draw. In fact, I already told my mom and dad just prior to Christmas, there's no way. We're not going to make it. Everybody went on leave. I didn't go very far, so I hung around there. My dad and mom came down to see us for Christmas. And Colonel Esmond called me one day and goes, how fast can you get everybody off of leave? Y'all are leaving on 28 December. We didn't actually leave about 2 January due to airlift, but we left. Kind of made the Hill boys a little mad because they've been sitting in that desert since September. And here we were just showing up 8 days prior, 10 days prior to the war. But everybody's professional, you know. We did a little friendly ribbon. Not my fault. You had to sit over here for 4 months. And I'm sorry. And then what really made them mad was we left first. Because we were like late authorizations in the country. And we're not in the original, you know, the love process of diplomatic relations. They needed us to leave first, to get out first. So now they really were mad. I go, hey, it's not my fault. So anyway. I'm sorry?
Why the worst squadron?
We were just a Charlie squadron. The other two squadrons, we were just good. We just didn't do nukes. Okay? And they were the nuclear squadrons, so they wanted to bring them down last to convert them. Does that make sense? Does everybody understand that? They wanted them to stay available for as long as possible. They weren't any better pilots than us. We just didn't have their mission. So it was easy for us to go conversion first. Does that make sense?
Did you get one plane at a time, or how did
We started out by sending pilots. In fact, I was in the first 5 pilots to go to Luke, where we got our checkout, and then we went to the factory and started picking them up. We delivered all of our own airplanes. We'd fly a pilot out to General Dynamics in Fort Worth, and then bring another one in, and then slowly but surely those A models went away to the Guard. They went away to the Guard. They're pretty much there. All those A models have got to be in the boneyard by now. I don't think any of them are flying. After Desert Storm, I had an interesting tour. A little painful on my liver, but I got to do an exchange tour with the Dutch. Okay, that's quite a bunch. I mean, for a country of only 17 million people, they bought 220 F-16s. And they're good at it. They're good. They are good. And of course, they were crashing about 1 a month. I was talking to General Bracecoat one day, and I go, sir, okay, I know we bought 220 of them over here, but we're down to 187. You know, we got to slow this attrition rate down. My good friend Bonnie Vercroest has built out of 5 F-16s. Now, 2 of them were his fault. So 2 of them were his fault, but 3 of them were. They got a different attitude. They have a different attitude. They now basically have converted those A models, done upgrades on them, and they're almost like the most modern C model we have today. If you remember, one of the Dutch pilots got a kill in the Kosovo, Serbia war. There was a Dutch pilot that got an AMRAAM kill. So they are aggressive and they are good. And I enjoy flying with them. Like I said, don't try to drink with them. Don't try to keep up with them. You can't. They're professionals. Most European countries are, though, compared to us. All right, so let's see. Then I went to Shaw Air Force Base in South Carolina, where I flew the Block 50. Real quickly, the Block 40s that we have here at Hill are the night lantern, targeting pod, laser pod, bomb dropping kind of F-16s. Now they can do air-to-air also because we carry 2 AMRAAMs and 2 heaters and an internal gun. All right, but the Block 50s, like they're down at Shaw Air Force Base in South Carolina, they're the guys that shoot the HARM missiles. They go out and attack radars. So they're a little different. The Block 50s are newer. Most of those we accepted at Shaw are all 91, 92, 93 models, roughly. And most of these out here are like 88, 89, 90 models. Don't quote me on that. I mean, there's probably one that's from '87 and there's probably one from '92 out there, but, so they're a little newer. But the good news about that assignment was that's where I got to be a squadron commander. And for those who have flown in this room, that's probably the most rewarding thing anybody can ever do, is be a squadron commander. In fact, the Air Force has a saying, I'm sure you all have heard it before, but everything after squadron command is downhill. You might go higher in rank, you might command again at some other level like wing, group, or wing, but it's not like being a fighter squadron commander. In the Air Force, the basic fighting element is a fighter squadron or a bomb squadron, or a squadron. You know, the Army's kind of a division, they get down to battalions, you know, but the basic combat fighting element in the USAF is a squadron. And that's where that's the level of unit integrity, about 300, 350 people, usually about 24, somewhere between 20 and 24 jets, and you run together, you sleep together, you eat together, you play together, and it's a unique feeling. I can't describe it. And that saying is definitely true with me. Well, I've had some more successes since then and enjoyed some more success in the Air Force. There was nothing like being a squadron commander, and I got to do it in my hometown. By pure luck, really, pretty much. You know, Sumter's a little far away from where I grew up, but all my family has now migrated towards Columbia, South Carolina, which is only about 35 miles away. So, that's kind of rare, getting to be a squadron commander in your home state. Nothing exciting about the National War College in D.C. other than don't ever live there. You have to plan to get groceries on Sunday now the traffic's so bad. There is no just getting in your car and let's go out and go somewhere. You've got to know what time to hit this bridge, what time to hit that exit, and when we're going to, blah, blah. Just don't go to D.C. NORAD, this is not going to be a plain talk here a little bit, but I will tell you this was probably the most important assignment I ever had in my life. When I first went to NORAD right out of the War College in Colorado Springs, we affectionately called it SNORAD. Time to play golf? Okay, let's go. All right. The Cold War had ended. We were down to just a few fighter squadrons that were pulling alert around the country. Not many, really not many at all. I think we only had, let's see, Massachusetts, Langley, Homestead, Ellington, what am I, 4, Fresno, Portland. That's the only place we were basically pulling air defense alert in America on 9/11. Okay? And most of those